going like you would normally. Shoot, I changed my name. You don't need to be logged into Zoom. You can join as just a guest. You don't have to be logged in to join a Zoom, but just make sure you log out of the iEmpowered one. I'm already logged in.
What?
There we go.
Okay, welcome to our Wednesday evening iEmpowered Stress and Anxiety Support Group. Still working on the name, but we're glad you're here. Patricia, thanks for being here. And thanks for your enthusiasm, and we're grateful. We wanted to start out today, and I think we're going to try to do something like this every week, where we do like a mindfulness minute. I think it's really important for mental wellness in general. So I'm going to teach you, and you may already know this, and there's lots of different breathing techniques out there. That's okay, we understand. I told the kiddos if they could be good for 45 minutes, they can have a brownie, which goes against some of the things, but it's once a week, so. They were very
for sanity's sake.
For sanity's sake. Mommy doesn't usually do stuff like this, so this was good. So this is a relaxation breath, and I learned it from a medical doctor. His name is Andrew Weil. He's a functional medicine doctor, and he's written many books, and he kind of tries to bridge the gap between alternative and traditional medicine. So this breathing is called the relaxation breath. It's a little bit tricky, but try it, give it a try. So you're going to take your tongue and put it on the roof of your mouth. And you don't have to press it, just kind of put it up there. And your mouth stays closed, and you're going to breathe in through your nose, keeping your tongue on the top of the roof of your mouth for 7 counts. Then you're going to hold it for 4, and then you're going to breathe out for 8. Okay, we're going to try that 3 times and then see how you feel, and then maybe we'll try it a couple more. So again, just trying to keep the tongue on the roof of your mouth. And some people have said when they're trying new breathing techniques that it can actually make them feel a little anxious. I think sometimes it just takes some practice to get through some of these. So just go ahead and take a swing at it, and we'll try some different varieties. So tongue on the roof of your mouth, and I'm just gonna talk you through it, so I won't be able to do it with you, but tongue on the roof of your mouth, and we're gonna breathe in through your nose for 8 or 7 counts. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now breathe out 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now I'm going to try it with you, okay? And just count to yourself. You don't have to go at my pace or anyone else's pace. Here we go. Just a reminder, it's breathing in for 7, holding for 4, and breathing out for 8. Do a couple more times. You can close your eyes if you want. Try one more time. Great. It might have felt a little weird. Hopefully it was a little relaxing. Sometimes when I'm in the car, I'm starting to get stressed and anxious, and I realize that my whole body's tensing up. I use that breath while I'm driving, and it calms me down. So breathing can be a really powerful tool in helping to cope with those types of feelings. So we just wanted, again, let's see. We just have Patricia. Patricia, I don't know that we need to reintroduce ourselves and what iEmpowered is, but just the basic premise is we want to help empower people to break through some of the barriers that we all face, whether it's stress, anxiety, depression, a whole myriad of emotions and things that can be challenging. So that's our whole mission, is to help empower people through that. And our desire is to do it in an authentic way, understanding that we'll talk a lot about, Matt and I in particular, our experiences, because we live it. We still live with a great deal of anxiety and depression and a lot of stress. And we're not perfect at coping, but we have learned some things along the way. So we desire to share those with you and kind of our experiences. And just a little bit of background in our family. Matt and I have 3 kids. We have an 8-year-old boy and twin girls that are just turned 6. We currently live in Tucson, Arizona, but we have moved 10 times in 10 years. And we're not in the military. It's just our lot, and it's been an adventure, and we've learned a lot of things, and we met a lot of great people along the way, so we're grateful for that. So Teresa and Matt, you can share your side of the story. And Teresa, if you would also share.
Matt, why don't you go first to piggyback on what Jenny was saying? Your microphone's off.
Yeah, sorry, muted. No, I'm just we're grateful to be here. I know that, you know, just to piggyback, I guess, off of what Jenny was saying, that, you know, we've learned a lot, moved a lot, learned a lot, but I think the most important thing is the learning and the growth that's come from all of the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, because none of us are immune from challenges and the stresses of life. So just grateful for those challenges and for the learning that comes.
Yeah. And just a little bit about me is I'm a mother to 5 and stepmom to 3 and grandma to 9. And a career found me in the middle of raising kids for 15 years. And I got into fitness, became a hormonal fat loss expert. And then that basically just turned into me trying to help people understand why they're stressed and reducing the stress about who we think we're not. So I'm a certified life coach now, so that I can help people understand their true worth. That's
awesome. And we're really grateful for Teresa. And I think that it's not coincidence when people come together. And I see that more and more as we go along. And I hope people that come to these meetings can find the non-coincidences in life, that there truly is some purpose, even though there are trials and struggles. So that there's joy and there are good things to be found and good people to be found in our journey. So tonight we wanted to talk a little bit about individual worth, if you will, or strengths. Each of us have unique strengths, and I'll give you a little bit of background as it relates to the experiences that Matt and I have had. When we lived back east in New Jersey, things were a bit of a roller coaster, and we at one point made a decision that we needed to come back west and go back to school and change completely the career path we were on. And we have in our family, we have designated the responsibility of breadwinner, and Matt has graciously accepted that role. And it's not been easy at times, but finding his niche and how he can contribute and monetize that was a challenge. So we decided to move back, start a new school program. But in the midst of all of that, we became familiar with the idea of strengths. And it's not really a new idea, but it was named differently. And the idea is that everyone has unique strengths, and they're all They can kind of be grouped in different categories, but everyone's individual strengths are very unique. So Matt has taken a lot of certification courses in this. His master's, he has a minor in something related to this type of positive psychology, which it kind of falls under the umbrella of. And so he's going to take some time now and teach you what he's learned, and also how it's helped and empowered him, because that's our purpose, is to try to help empower people through some of the mental wellness challenges and the stresses of life. So
Yeah.
Matt, take it away.
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm excited to have a chance to talk about, and well, I have it on Instagram now too. So yeah, I'm just really excited to talk about strengths. It's something that's been a big part of my life since 2015. I got certified as a strength strategy / people acuity coach, focusing specifically on helping people not just understand their strengths, but understand how they can apply their strengths and use them to be successful in their life. Because I think one of the biggest things that I have found in my life is understanding who I am and the impact that I can have on the world. Because I think someone who struggles with, at least me specifically, struggles with anxiety and depression, it's been hard for me to understand like the gifts and talents that I have and that I can contribute to the world. And so I did a lot of work in that area, and then also got my master's degree in psychology with an emphasis in coaching, but more specifically related to this idea of positive mindset, positive psychology. And so, you know, one of the things that I have focused specifically on is using the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment as a tool, because I think that there's a lot of assessments out there. There's Myers-Briggs, there's well, that's MBTI, there's the emotion code, there's Enneagram. There's so many different assessments out there, and they're all great. I love them. I think they're important. I think that each one is a great tool. I personally like the Gallup Strength Finder assessment because it helps identify people's strengths that they have, and more specifically, so there's a list of 34 that this was founded by Don Clifton and Tom Rath years and years ago, psychologists, I don't know, back in the 40s or 50s, I think it was, but just really focused on how people can use the gifts and talents that they have and kind of, I guess, categorize them or classify them into these 34 strengths. And all of these strengths fall into different domains where, you know, someone could be more relationships type builder, someone could be more of an influencer or strategic thinker. And so I think that there's, you know, we don't want to put in categories necessarily, but I think that it's important for us to understand our strengths, and it's important to understand what we can contribute and what we can give. And so that's what I want to focus on, is how can we use our strengths? How can we understand what we can contribute to be successful in the world? And I think that's a big piece that's missing, or can be a big piece that people often have a difficult time understanding, who may be stressed or dealing with, you know, some of the different challenges that we deal with. And so that's one thing that I want to focus on is, okay, so what are strengths? What are the gifts and talents that we have? And how can we use those to be successful? So number one is, what are they? How do you know what strengths and gifts and talents that you have? Well, you can find out through some of these different assessments. Like I said, I recommend the Gallup assessment. I think that it's a great tool to be able to understand and identify strengths. And then once you do that, it's like, okay, well, what do I do with these? So there's myriad of different assessments that talk about, you know, these different strengths. And I think that, you know, with Gallup, it helps us identify, am I more of a relationship builder? Do I do I connect well with people? Am I more of a strategic thinker? Do I focus on goals and numbers? Am I data driven? Am I an influencer? Am I an executor? Executing strengths are another domain in that. And so just understanding and executors are those go-getters, those you know, tell me what to do and I'm gonna do them type you know, people. And so I think specifically you know, that's what strengths are. And I think that you know, helping people understand those and how to apply them is important. And so I don't know what more you want specifically to talk about, Jenny, but that's kind of what we were.
Well, you had mentioned kind of how do I find out what my strengths are? These assessments are really, I think, have been really helpful. They've been super helpful for our family. The Gallup Strengths Finder assessment does cost, and I'm actually trying to get them to donate some of those assessments to the nonprofits so that people can do that for free. It's very in-depth. I think they do a really good job. But one of the things that once you've kind of been exposed to different types of strengths, like Matt said, like relationship building strengths or strategic thinking strengths or influencing strengths, and you start to realize, okay, so like, for example, let me tell you what some of my strengths are that the, you know, the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment gives me your top 5, but these are things I've already known and were kind of confirmed. So one of my first 5 strengths is relator. And I've always known that, like, for example, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we were on a hiking adventure with my family. We went to Havasupai Falls. And there was, we had everyone that wasn't married at the time. So there was 6 out of 8 of us that were there. And we had just finished coming in, we set up camp, and then there was this woman kind of over by the creek, and she was just sitting on a bridge, and I just went over, and my brother turns to my mom and he says, I'll give you 2 minutes and she'll be best friends with this person. And again, I'm not saying that to say I'm this wonderful person, but it's a gift, something that I've been given where I can find connections with people. And sometimes when we're struggling with anxiety and depression, we don't often see those firsthand because we're stuck in, like, I'm this worthless person that has all these challenges and all my challenges affect everybody that I love, but they're there. We just need to uncover them. Relators, a strength that I have. I've been blessed with the strength of empathy. So I feel, and it's so interesting, I feel what other people are feeling. And sometimes it's really, really strong. And that's something, because I realize I have that, I've been able to develop that more. And it's become a gift, and it's something that I can use to help serve other people. The other thing is that I think as parents, we have the opportunity to recognize those strengths in others. And since we've been exposed to these different types and kind of these different labels, labeling is not always good, but I think it's good to help people recognize where they fit. Because sometimes with all these things that we're talking about, we don't feel like we fit. So with our children, now that we've been exposed to all this, we recognize in our kids, oh, this person really shows that they have this type of a strength. And I think, Teresa, with your 8 children, you could probably concur that you can see those, and you see those individual things. And I think helping to identify those. So starting with parents, if you feel comfortable communicating with your parents that way and trust them, they can help identify some of those strengths and those gifts. And that's, like you said, that discovering those, identifying them, and making those positive, and then learning how to contribute. Those kind of the path we want to follow with strengths. Teresa, what are your thoughts?
You know, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think the tools that you use kind of, it's almost like a confirmation. I think all of us know intrinsically who we are and what our gifts are, but like that Marianne Williamson quote is like, who am I to be great and amazing? Paraphrasing here, right? That's not exactly, she just used the word amazing, but she basically said, you know, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Like that's, but we downplay it. It's kind of like you felt a little sheepish, you know, saying something about your awesomeness, and you are awesome. Like you are a relator. It is the coolest thing about you that you sit down, like you and I became fast friends, immediately connected. Like that's just you. And there's nothing to be sorry about. I mean, but in the culture that we're raised, it's, you know, our moms were like, don't brag, that's not nice. And, you know, tone it down, be humble, you know, and we've learned to just kind of squash those things. And so then also our life conditioning is such that our parents didn't want us to offend anybody. So they were like, tone it down, don't be awesome. Like just, you know, we'll tell you you're awesome behind the scenes, but just, you know, slow the roll, you know, in public. And so, you know, we tend to apologize even for our goodness and our greatness. And, you know, and that's when we're like, we start to forget, we start to get lost in like, am I good at that? Or maybe I'm not good at that because, you know, maybe we tried something and it didn't go so well, or it didn't go as we wanted it to, or somebody took it wrong or whatever. And then we're like, ooh, maybe I'm not good at that. And so, you know, our individual worth is always hanging in the balance, you know, that we're like, I don't know, it's, you know, I thought it was a strength, but maybe it's not. So-and-so said it wasn't a strength, and so-and-so got mad when I thought it was, you know, I was doing something good. You know, it's just, we're always like sifting and sorting, like what is part of me and how do I own all of it? So when you do these assessment tests and stuff, you start to really go, okay, it wasn't just my imagination, you know. Yeah. Some of us didn't have the perfect childhood, you know. It was a lot of ups and downs and a lot of criticism and judgment on the children because the parents were having a hard life, you know. And when that's the case, you know, you're getting a lot of information about who you think they think you are, but you're actually just getting information about the pain they've experienced about who they think they're not. And does that make sense? Absolutely. So, you know, a lot of us have to do a little more digging and a little more efforting to own all the goodness that is in us and our true worth. So, I have found that one of the hardest things for women, especially, to answer is, you know, to make I am statements. I am and fill in the blank. They're like, I am a good friend. It's like, no, that's a hat you wear, you know. But yours, Jenny, just using your example, I am relatable, right? That's to be able to finish the I am statement. And the I am is the most powerful thing that you could ever say because it is directly linked to your higher power. I am is another name for your higher power. Mm-hmm. So when you say I am and then you fill in the blank, you're right, if it's positive. But I've had a lot of people say, I am frustrated, I am tired, I am impatient. I am like, wait a minute, hold on. Right. We all have those experiences, yes, but it's not who we actually are. We're just acting, you know, reacting to life. We're not actually acting as ourselves when we're like that. So part of the hardest part, what I've said to women, what would be so bad about acknowledging all of your greatness? And they're like, ooh, I shudder. Like, this is, it's not okay to say I'm awesome and I'm, you know, all these amazing things, you know, I'm joyous, I'm loving, I'm, you know, all these things. And it's like, but why not? And they're like, well, because I would get a big head. It's like, yes, maybe logically you might think you would get a big head, but who do you know who's actually great? Who is all of those things? And you know it. And they're like, well, like my grandfather or, you know, leadership authority. And it's like, okay, so are they egoic and, you know, big-headed, or are they the most humble people you know? Because they know their worth, because they know all the gifts they own. And usually the answer comes back is like, no, they're the most humble person. It's like, so if you were also to acknowledge all the awesomeness that is in you, would you be big-headed and pompous and really unpleasant to be around, or would you be humble and kind and going on with all the goodness that is in you? The latter, right?
Absolutely. And I think that that's that gratitude of like, when we recognize like that it is a gift, and being grateful and acknowledging that it is something really, really good, that just, I've got this pesky fly, that just, it's on my head now, that keeps us humble. Like if we're really worried about that, you know, geez Louise. So looking at it in a positive way, that's why I like kind of when they talk about this umbrella, if you've heard the terms positive psychology, that's because we want it to be positive. It's supposed to be positive. It's not supposed to be negative. Now, of course, if you get way into all of it, and Matt has a lot of knowledge in this area about, you know, yes, there's strengths. Can we overuse strengths? You know, sometimes we can, and sometimes they can have negative effects on other people. And we learning those and learning what our, and Matt, you could probably talk a little bit more about this, what our needs are in our strengths and what our contributions are in our strengths, and understanding what those mean. So Matt, could you talk a little bit more about maybe those, and could you share a couple of the strengths that you know you have and how they have affected you and empowered you through stresses, through anxiety, through depression? Yeah, could you do that?
Yeah, so it was very empowering for me when I first discovered, I mean, for me, I took all the assessments, a lot of them at least. And like I said, what really resonated and hit home with me was the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment, because after I took it, so when you take the assessment, the cheap one, the one that's $20 or whatever, or if you buy a book, you can get it on Amazon for cheaper, but that'll help you identify, it actually gives you a result of 5 strengths, your top 5. And they're placed in like what you use the most versus what you use the least. And then there's other assessments you can purchase, or there's another part of that you can purchase that's more money, but it will help you, it'll put in order, a ranking order, all of the 34 strengths that you have. And so for me, what was empowering was when I received my results, so the assessments, this one specifically is 160 questions, and it's very well done. You have like 20 seconds or something to answer each question. And for me, I feel like I've not really known very many people who have taken it and have not been like, wow, that really helps, you know, answer some of the questions that I maybe had about, you know, who I was. And for a long time, you know, I've kind of known what my gifts and talents were, but I didn't really know. And it wasn't until I took the assessment that I really knew. And it was interesting that I had to have an assessment tell me that. And, you know, I believe that, I guess. And so for me, based on my whole report, the 34 strengths report, one of the areas that, the domains that I live in, so those 4 domains that I talked about, is influencing. And I've learned that, again, in my life, piggybacking off of what Teresa said, I grew up being taught that, like, you know, you can't be this, you can't talk about yourself. You can't, you know, want to be in the limelight. You can't do all of these things. And so I grew up believing that I should just kind of always be humble and just kind of be on the sidelines and just like let other people shine in a sense. And there's nothing wrong with being humble. I'm not saying that humility is a good thing, because it is. But what's important to understand, like what Teresa was saying, is we have gifts and talents that have been given to us that are innate, that nobody else has. Nobody else. And the report, what they found is, specifically with the Gallup report, which is the one I'm most familiar with, you know, they're, like I said, I don't know the specifics on the others, but what they have found is it's like 1 in 300 or 1 in 400,000, or people in the world are going to have the same top 5 strengths in the same order. It's not even really possible, or 1 in a million, something like that. I don't remember the exact number.
I think it's 1 in 33 million.
Yeah, 1 in 33 million, something like that. It's a very astronomical number, basically meaning that none of us are the same, and so we all have something unique to bring and contribute. And that's the thing that was eye-opening to me, was not only do I have strengths, but there are parts of those strengths that allow me to contribute my personal brilliance to the world and allow others to contribute their personal brilliance to the world. Now, there are things that can stop us and prevent us from doing that. The negativity that we go into, the self-doubt, a lot of places, and we call that toxicity. There's a lot of terms that can be used. But if we're not given the opportunity to shine and to contribute, then we can't use the strengths that we have. It's almost like we, and there are ancient scriptural verses that talk about, the Bible specifically, and I'm not going churchy here necessarily, but there are ancient scriptures and ancient writings that talk about hiding our talents and burying them in the ground. We don't want to do that, right? So we have specific talents and gifts to contribute to the world. And in order to do that, we have needs. We have things that have to be met in our own life in order for us to do that. We have to receive, so influencing specifically, one of the things that helps people with an influencing type strength to be able to contribute is to have an opportunity to be in front of people and to have these chances to coach and to speak and to train and to teach and do all of those things. Those are some things. There's a myriad of different things that encompass that. And if someone with those particular strengths doesn't have an opportunity to do that, then they're not going to be able to contribute the brilliance that they have. And with relators, Jenny is very much a relator, and it's very true that it doesn't matter where we go, within 2 minutes or 3 minutes, she's got a phone number of somebody and she's already best friends with whoever it is that she's with. So, but if she's not given the opportunity to do that, then she can't, bless that person's life, and so, and the same with executors, the same with strategic thinkers. We all have specific needs, and if those needs aren't met, then we can't. And there's nothing wrong with owning your brilliance. I think that's important. We need to understand and own that brilliance, not in a cocky, not in we can still do that with humility and love. And I think that's the biggest thing with all of this, is if we show forth love, genuine, true love to others, then that supersedes any ego boasting that we might have. So I think that's one thing that we need to be aware of, is we have been given greatness, and that greatness needs to be shown, and it can be shown without being boastful.
And just one more thought to add to what you're saying there, Matt, that when you use your gifts and talents to improve the world, your circle of influence, it gives them permission to do the same.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of the core of what we as a nonprofit, and we're not trying to promote all of our thoughts and feelings about the nonprofit, but why we're doing this, why are we getting together on Wednesdays? Why my kids say, well, Mom, what is this all about? And I said, well, we feel like we have been through a lot, and I shouldn't chuckle as I say that, but I just chuckle that the kids are kind of wondering what's going on, because Mom doesn't usually do this. But we have felt strongly that we have these experiences that we want to share. But at the core of all of this, and I think the thing that connected Teresa and I the most when we first spoke, was the idea that when people are struggling with things like depression and anxiety, and stress is a big time trigger for those types of feelings, then they just convince themselves that they are worthless, that they don't have a place in society. And then they start looking for other ways to find relief. And that becomes really dangerous in a lot of ways. So what we want to do, and we hope this becomes a rippling effect of empowering people to understand that they are unique, that they have innate, like Matt said, I like the word innate because I 100% believe that, innate gifts and talents, abilities, strengths, whatever you want to call them, that they can contribute to society. I was talking to my mother-in-law a couple days ago about kind of the, I don't know, how mental health has changed in her lifetime. And it's gone from, you know, kind of this obscure thing back hundreds of years ago that didn't have a name to something that, you know, maybe had a lot of different names, a lot of different diagnoses, but you just wanted to kind of brush it under the carpet and not talk about it. And it was scary for a lot of people, and nobody wanted to open up, because if you suggested that you were struggling with these types of things, then maybe X, Y, and Z could happen to them or to someone else or something. And that, I believe, needs to change. It doesn't matter the type of challenge that you have. Everyone can contribute. We have a daughter that has spina bifida. Her name is Hannah. She's remarkable. Anyone that has had a chance to be around her, she's just full of light and love and empathy. And no one in a million years has looked at Hannah and thought, she can't contribute to society. No one would ever say that. No one would ever think that. That is not a thought on anyone's mind. Parents, anyone. So why do we do that to people that have specific challenges like anxiety and depression? That's not true. Everyone can contribute. Seen and unseen challenges. Everyone has a place. And so one of the steps in finding that place is, what are my strengths? So we want to encourage you to try to figure that out. Now, we've suggested some types of assessments, the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment. Matt, could you, and we'll probably put them up on the Facebook website, of the different types of assessments that are out there. Some are free, and believe you me, when you're struggling with certain things, especially mental wellness, finances can be a struggle. So we understand. That's why we're doing this too, is we want to provide support and services at a low cost for people, because it can get overwhelming. So using an assessment is a great tool. Going to someone that you love and that you trust, like your parents, like we talked last week, Teresa mentioned finding a mentor, someone that you know can really see you, and ask them, what do you think my strengths are? And then ponder on those things and go back to them. And remember when last week, Patricia, you were here last week, we talked about that moment when I was running and I felt that joy. And then at the same instant, I felt that voice that said, you're not allowed to feel joy. And that'll probably happen as we're discovering our strengths. Well, go ahead.
Back off of that, I have an ability to basically do a spot analysis of somebody's strengths if they want to meet with me. It's a 15-minute conversation with somebody. I've got questions that I can ask if they don't want to pay for the Gallup Strengths Assessment. They could go with it. They can answer some questions with me, and we can go through that. Otherwise, there's a lot of resources, and I'm not here to promote Gallup. I don't work for Gallup. I'm not sponsored by Gallup or anything like that. I love the tool that they have. I think it's very powerful, but there's millions of others. You know, MBTI, Myers-Briggs has a free one. Enneagram is free. There's lots of different free ones out there. I'll put the resources on the page, but happy to go through and you know, walk through somebody's strengths with them if they want. No problem.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. And again, you know, so it's going to be a process of recognizing, trying to identify some specific strengths and how you can contribute, and then being okay, like Teresa said, with like owning it, and being okay to let your brilliance shine. I like that word, Matt, brilliance. Teresa, anything else you would like to add and offer?
Yeah, and I think just sort of what you were also saying about you know, looking at somebody that has been labeled as anxious or depressed. I think even the person who has those things about them that they know are there, like there were many years that went by that I knew I had anxiety about just the most simple things, like, you know, getting through a day with my kids, that I had a lot of shame about it, and I didn't want it to be seen out in the public eye, and I was in hiding about it. And I learned to smile through it. Nobody could have ever known that I was having a panic attack when I'm in photos at Christmas time smiling with my family. That we also have to also be kind to ourselves as we're finding our inner gifts and strengths. We need to remember that it's not other people labeling us, that but very possibly it's ourselves that are holding our own selves back because we have anxiety, but that it's not who you are, right? It's just an awareness that you have that your thoughts have taken you to a place of being anxious. And so also giving yourself the benefit of the doubt and a hand up and willingness to acknowledge that we have gifts, and all your gifts can be present and anxiety can be present at the same time. That it's you're not less gifted or less talented or less able to make a contribution if you have anxiety. That some people can actually be very high functioning and have anxiety until they get hold of what's causing the anxiety. They still have gifts to give, and to not take yourself out of the game because you have anxiety behind the scenes and you don't want someone to know about it. It's actually very common. And so you're probably with a lot of really awesome people who also have anxiety, right?
Right. I mean, I always like to go back in history and, you know, see the men and women that did amazing things that had those labels. Abraham Lincoln was one, and
Yeah.
he is an amazing, obviously we all, I mean, hopefully all of us feel that way about him, but I definitely do. I think, yes, Patricia, absolutely. I want you to share some thoughts. You're on.
Hello.
Patricia.
Sorry, I don't mean to be like hiding back here. My kids are here. My husband's at work still, so I'm just trying to not be a distraction. But I just wanted to share a few things about our meeting from today. I am so grateful for this platform and this chance to be able to kind of, like I said last time, just kind of be a fly on the wall and then join when I want to. I can turn my video on when I want to. This is Molly Jo. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and I love everything that you guys are saying today about finding your strengths and figuring out who you are. And I don't know, I guess that's all I really wanted to say. It was just that I really love what you guys are saying, and I'm going to look into that. If you could, I think you said Matt, you were going to post that link somewhere, or for Gallup.
Yeah, I can do that. The cheapest way to get it is on Amazon, because you can get a book. As long as you purchase a new book, don't buy a used one because they'll pull the codes out of them.
Okay.
As long as you get the new book, and even if somebody has Audible, I don't know if you do, but like Audible even allows you, if you have an Audible subscription, you're already paying for it. If you get a strengths book through Audible, they will email you a code, so it will be included. So yeah, I can send the names of the books, and as long as that's the cheapest way to go, then rather than buying it on the website. It's also half price for students if they use a student email address. So yep, happy to share those resources.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Matt, and even any of the ones that are like free, I think sometimes when we're starting from scratch, like Gallup is, we feel, one of the best. But there are free ones out there that do different types of assessments, and so you'll get kind of a different report, and those are all good too. So I think the more information we can start gathering, and then using that, we talked a little bit about this last week, and we just want to reiterate that you know you best, right? And be okay with that, and trust those feelings that are going to come in. in confirmation of being on the right path, finding the right, understanding that really is my strength. Be okay with trusting that. And it's going to be a bit of a process. And Matt suggested that he's willing to help to do like a 15-minute, it's not a full-on assessment, but it helps to kind of identify where your strengths lie. And that can be effective as well. So any other thoughts, you guys, before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. Good.
This has been a really fun time. It's good to talk about this sort of thing and get it out in the open. And so those that are going to listen to this back feel comfortable starting to, grab onto things that give them confidence to go about being their best self and make the contribution they came here to make. So thank you for your time, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm grateful. And we'll continue to try to get some feedback from the survey we put out about topics. We have, a lot of topics that we can choose from based on our backgrounds and our expertise and the network of people that we have that are experts in different areas that, again, can be tools to help empower us to break through some of these mental wellness barriers that we have. You guys are awesome. We're really grateful for everybody that's contributing tonight, and have a great evening, have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week. Thanks so much.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.